If there is one thing that annoys me more than anything else about my EDC P10c, it would be the difficulty in pressing the mag release button. Even on this gun with over 5,000 rounds through it, it still takes quite a bit. Easiest way is to tap it while you push the button, and even then, it's not guaranteed. So, let's fix that. Okay guys, it is finally time to fix the mag release on my P10c. These mag releases, this is specific to the ambidextrous mag release, this problem. And the reason that this is a problem is twofold on these mag releases. One is the friction surfaces inside here are kind of sharp. They need cleaned up a little bit. The second problem is the design of the mag release, how it's a fulcrum-y mag release. So right now it's stuck in this back position, and when a magazine comes up, this little notch right here catches on it and it pulls down. So when you're releasing that magazine, you're not only pulling up and through spring tension to get it to snap, but you're pulling past the friction of the magazine, of this little square notch in here with that little section. Now the part that comes in annoying is that little section has a casting line right in the middle of it that catches every damn time you try to push the button. So we're going to fix that. We're going to clean up the edges and pull out that casting edge to be able to make the magazine release a little bit cleaner and hopefully be able to drop mags easier. So first thing we're going to do, we are going to make sure that there is no ammo in there. Now let's go ahead and pull off our awesome Norso slide with our Holosun 507C. And let's zoom in. Apparently my kids have been in my tools again, so I've got a kind of an older tool here to be able to point some stuff out. So if we look down inside here, here's the magazine release. You can see that that casting line is right here, and I can actually feel it a little bit with the tip of this pick. Now watch as I press the magazine release button. You can see it pivot that way and up, and that's actually what it's doing. You can also see it tweak a little bit, and that's because of the friction that you've got down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull this out. We're going to clean up all of these surfaces and try to make this a little bit smoother so that we can drop mags that much easier. Now to get this out, it is a single pin, and that pin is right here, but we're also going to pull the trigger pin here to get the trigger up and out of the way. We can just push the trigger up like this, which does help a little bit, but it would be nice just to be able to get a little bit more up in there. Let's get a little bit better light down in here too, so you guys can really see exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, there we go. So right down here is the mag release itself. Down here is the button, and then here is that pivoting arm. You can see I can press that pivoting arm just like that. It's really stiff, and being really stiff, it makes it even harder when you're actually pushing the magazine release. So let's go ahead and get things popped out here. I'm just going to grab a punch. These are all just held in with a little bit of spring tension, so we can just push these out just like Glock pins. The springs on here sit in these little retaining spots right here. Go ahead and sit the trigger pin to the side, and next up is the mag release pin. And with this one, we're probably gonna, this one actually has a groove. You can see this groove where the mag release itself sits. Sit that to the side. And then as I pull this out, we're gonna have parts coming out. So let's go ahead and pull it upside down. And there is the mag release itself. Then I can pull our button out. The spring is a little spring right here. You can see it sitting down inside a pocket. And the mag release just fits in there like this, and then that spring sits right here. You can actually see the circle where that spring sits. So these are all the surfaces we're going to clean up. We're going to clean up right here. We're going to clean up this surface right here. Set the frame aside, and then we are going to clean up all of these surfaces here, because this is extremely sharp, and I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's really rough too. So we're going to clean all of this up. So this is where our jeweler's files come in. Let's go ahead and grab those, and we're just going to start breaking the edges. Let me grab a block to lift this up a little bit, and then we're just going to start taking this file and breaking those sharp edges try to make a cleaner part with easier surfaces for that magazine release to slide on. I was really hoping that this was going to clean itself up, in all honesty, and it just didn't. It should have. I'm significantly past the point now where it should have cleaned itself up if it was going to. So, I was kind of hoping that I wasn't going to have to end up doing this mod, but alas, here we are. Once we get this all cleaned up with the jeweler's file, we're going to go back over it with some really, really fine grit sandpaper to be able to really get these edges nice and smooth and polished. We may even bring in the Dremel really quick as one last polish to go over it to get it as smooth as we possibly can, because any little bit is going to help. This is working against quite a bit of spring tension in there, so any little bit that we can do is going to help us out. Now the file that I'm using here is a 3-sided file, but neither one of these edges actually has filing material or filing surface on it. It's just the one that's got the filing surface on it, which makes it so that it's harder to kind of mess up other surfaces adjacent to what you're doing. Some sandpaper out and start going over it with some of that. Now we don't want to hit the major surfaces a whole lot. We just want to smooth everything out. Give everything a nice smooth texture so our mag release just kind of floats over the surfaces rather than really grinding on them. Alright, so that is pretty much all we're going to do to this section. So next we're going to clean up this surface here. We're going to kind of do the same thing. I'm not going to take a file to this section. It doesn't need a file. It's a small enough section that a file is pretty much overkill on it. But we are going to do the same thing where we clean up the edges. Just try to get it kind of polished a little bit. Alright, so now that that's cleaned up, let's go ahead and clean up this front surface here. This is the actual integration surface. So this is the surface that I was telling you about. Sits inside the mag like this. And when you hit the mag release, it's actually pulling up on the mag to try to pull it past this lip. So what we're going to do, we're not going to alter this lip at all. We're just going to take off the very small bit of ledge that you can feel on this surface. Get some fresh paper here. Yikes. That should be just enough polish to be able to help us out here. Alright guys, so now that we've got everything filed and sanded, we're going to go ahead and take our Dremel with a buffing cone. We're going to buff up everything that we can get to in here, because this thing is still a little bit on the rough side. Not super easy to hold on to. Here we go. Okay, so there is the mag release buffed. You can see it's pretty shiny. Let's go ahead and do the lever itself. Let's go ahead and hit the release face. Okay, with that done, let's go ahead and reassemble and see how our mag release works. So to reinstall is kind of a pain in the butt. So what we gotta do, first up, we gotta get our mag release button back in. So that's just gonna go in just like this with the chamfered section aiming down. Don't drop it all the way through though. So chamfered section down, finger on the other side to block it. Okay, so the button itself is in. Now we've gotta place this in with this section on top of the spring, and this section as close to the hole as we can get it before we pull it into the hole. So I'm going to spin it around this way so I can use my fingers to drop it in this way. And there we go. Oh, the trigger pulled back. There we go. Okay. I think that's in. Yep. Alright, so there I've got it in. So I've got to kind of get it pushed down into place this way, far enough that I can get a punch up and in. So if I can get it pushed down far enough, I can get a pin in from here. I can line up my mag release here, and with it centered, push in on here, compressing the spring, and down to seat it. Then I can grab my pin, place it in from the other side, and hopefully, there we go, everything will fit together nice and smooth. You may have to reach in here and kind of shove around on our release to get the pin lined up one last time. There we go. Okay. Magazine release is in, and it's hard to tell if it did a whole lot for now. It does feel smoother. Let's go ahead and get the rest of the gun put back together, and we will find out if that actually did what we thought it would do. So let's go ahead and put our trigger pin back in. I can see through there. Go ahead and line that up and just stick our pin back in. There we go. Okay. Trigger pin is back in. Let me zoom out really quick. Alright. And with that, we now have a mag release that actually releases magazines without breaking your thumb. It's still a little bit stiff, but it's actually doable with one hand, which is a significant improvement over what we had before. So that's it for this time, guys. The modifications that are required on a CZ P10c if your mag release just won't soften up. Remember, guys, if you found this video useful, go ahead and like and subscribe down below. If there's any tips or tricks that you have for getting this done, go ahead and write those down there too. If you like what we do here on the channel and you want to help out a little bit, we'd love it if you headed over to our Patreon page. Remember, guys, we appreciate every one of you, and until next time, do your research, get informed, and get to work.